All right, friends, good morning from China in Dongguan, Guangdong, in the south of China. Today is Wednesday and it's 9:30 in the morning here. So whatever you are in the world watching this video, welcome. Um, I posted a video on Monday about Panjangle's great swim in the 100-meter freestyle. And well, I made the video on Saturday. I scripted it and shot it and edited, and I posted it on Monday, expecting it to be an okay video, right? Because I touch on several points that a lot of people like to talk about, like, well, China and how well they're doing and the new generation of Chinese. So I thought it would be an okay video. But what took place is that on Sunday, around the closing of the swim part of the Olympics, they had the 4 by 100 medley, and he Pan Zhangle just absolutely blew that field. It was incredible. It was so this AMA is to talk a little bit about who I am, what I do, or where I'm coming from when you watch my videos, but also to talk a little bit about that video. So the first thing to say is that I grew up as a swimmer. I started swimming competitions when I was about 9 years old, back in my home country, Colombia. And from 2010 to 2017, I trained for Ironman races. I actually participated in about 12 half Ironman and 3 full Ironman. So I kind of like swimming has been always my thing, and so I have been in touch with the sport a little bit. So I think I could comment a little bit on what Panjanla was doing from a very ignorant place, as ignorant as I can be in terms of having participated in a lot of competitions in the past, having trained with world champions and whatnot, like Maka from Australia, um, Chris McCormack and Jürgen Sachs from Germany. So yeah, that's where I was coming from on that video. But that Sunday video, it just brought everything back into attention, and this video has just blown up. It's at around 150 plus thousand views, which is, if you've gone through my videos, you'll see that I usually get, on a good day, I get 20,000 views. So on a regular day, I'm hitting about 3,000, 5,000 views, which is fine for the kind of content that I do, which is mostly political commentary. So that's the first thing to say. um, and the video in itself just brought about more than 2,500 subscribers. So a lot of people click subscribe on a channel, and they just like the video. And I thought, like, well, this is a substantial amount of subscribers, and I think I would like to introduce myself to you, the new subscribers, and some of the old subscribers, in case they don't know much about me. So yeah, this is why this AMA is for. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about my life, and as I go along, I'll check on the comments and bring in some of the questions onto the screen, and we can talk about anything you want. Reading glasses on because I'm old. First of all, let's start with this one. This is a good start. It says, I find it interesting about American participation in events. Not many Black Americans in aquatic sports. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Secondly, their Math Olympiad members for competition are mostly Asian, not Caucasian. XYYYYX. Thank you so much for that comment. And you're absolutely right. You see certain differences in sports. For example, in track and field, a lot of the American athletes are Black Americans. I don't know if that's the proper term to use. I've been in China for 24 years. I'm not connected to this woke language. So yeah, that's what I see, right? Um, there's You see a lot of this also in football. Like, a lot of countries import, so to speak, or they nationalize players from other countries, from other races, because they see certain uh, physical abilities there. For example, marathon runners, right? By way of how they were raised or how they were lived in the environment in which they lived. African runners are just unbelievably, they're superstars in that sport. So I think that this goes a little bit into what you're trying to say there, and it makes it even more incredible that a sport that record was an unbelievable 68 years, I think, that the Americans had dominated the 4 by 100 medley. 68 years. And then this Chinese team jumps in and gets it and snatches the gold. That was unbelievable. And that swim, I don't know if you guys watched it. This is not about swimming, okay? This is gonna be about just you guys asking me questions. But that swim where the butterfly swimmer had come down with a fever and had to be replaced by like the second one, and you could see the team dropping, right? You could see the Chinese team dropping to the third place actually, um, as he finishes the butterfly leg, and then Pa Zhangle just jumps in and is just unbelievable. Now everybody's talking about his stroke and the way he swims, and if you start looking at it and analyze it, you do see that he bobs up and down a lot less than the others. His hand going in the water splashes a lot less. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk about his training and his technique and how that has taken him to where he is right now. Another important thing to say about that swim is that he just turned 20. In swimming, usually athletes get better as they grow older. Their body changes. They kind of like they fill up their bodies with more muscle, and the technique just keeps on improving. So their career goes from whenever they start swimming until the late 20s, right? 30s maybe. So he's got at least two more Olympics in him, 2024, 2028. Who knows if 2032, but that's something important to consider about Panjanla. Let's continue with the question. Here we go. Oh, Trevor, thank you so much. You are always there watching, staying late because you're in a part of the world where you get this in the middle of the night. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It goes a very long way. I really appreciate it. Um, you're talking about if the Yangs ban China from the games in 4 years' time, do you think the BRICS nation will boycott the games? Um, I think that this goes on country by country. I don't think BRICS is going to be a united group saying like, "Oh, we're going to boycott the games." Uh, you got to consider what are the reasons for the ban, right? The Russian ban is coming from two different directions. There's allegations of doping, and some cases of doping. And then there's also the war. But then again, you start looking at the double standard, right? So what is Israel doing there? There's an actual war taking place, um, and the Olympics is shouldn't be about that. Now, why the Russians are not at the Olympics? Then, yeah, there's probably two reasons that come into play. 2028. Let's hope there's no war before that with China. So I don't see why they will be banned. And every single bit of testing that has been done on these swimmers in 2024, um, they've come clean. So I don't see any reason why America would ban them. Um, is the American government just known for making the most logical decisions? No, they're not. So it's entirely possible what you're saying. However, I don't see the grounds for it as we are. Yeah. All right, let me see. Thank you, Trevor, once again for your super chat. KK Downing says hello. Guys, ask your question. So let's see, Ferry. Hi, Fernando. Might be mistaken, but I noticed that the haters make a lot of fuss about Xinjiang, Xinjiang, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, but they seldom make a fuss about Macau. I'm curious as to why. Uh, of course, I've noticed this. That's a very good question, Ferry. Rustandi. I've noticed that, but I actually never asked myself this question. I think that there's more disruption to be created when you talk about those areas like Xinjiang and Xinjiang. Taiwan has always been a point of contention, right? As it was said by MacArthur, I think it was, that he said, "Well, we need an unsinkable ship, unsinkable carrier," and that's what Taiwan is to them, a way to threaten China if they get too strong, too powerful. So Macau doesn't have any of that. Do you know what I mean? Macau doesn't bring about much of that. Hong Kong is more similar to Macau than anything else, in a sense that being a special administrative region, being relatively small in size, having a bit of a different system, right? The one country, two system thing. So it's a it's a question that I don't know how to answer. I don't have the answer to this particular question. I understand why Zhejiang and Xinjiang and Taiwan make a lot of sense. Hong Kong was a huge surprise, and I think that Hong Kong was a turning point for a lot of people living here in the mainland or living in Hong Kong, foreigners, because they were obviously, as a transition started taking to place from 1997, right? And I always say to people about this, I came here in 2001, so about 4 years after the handover took place, and there were still things that were very unusual. For example, I arrived in Shanghai, then went to Harbin, then went to Xi'an, and came down to Guangdong. To enter Shenzhen in 2001, to enter Shenzhen, you needed a pass. It was considered like a completely different area of China. It was a special economic zone. Foreigner or Chinese, you needed a permit. You needed a reason to enter Shenzhen. That's the way it was. So over time, that's out the window. So I could extend that to Hong Kong. There were issues going into Hong Kong. It was not easy going to Hong Kong for Chinese people, even for foreigners. You had to um, stand in lines, and there were lines for foreigners. And it would took a long time in the past. It would just from Dongguan, where I am, which is about 45, 80 kilometers from Hong Kong, but about 50 kilometers from Shenzhen. It used to take me about 6 hours to get to Hong Kong. 6 hours. And it's just because that crossing of the border was very complicated. But over time, it's just gotten easier and easier. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say is that the changes in Hong Kong, even though there was a window of 50 years, right, they had to be gradual, right? So today, I can go to Hong Kong in under an hour, literally door to door, because I just get on the subway, which is a 5 minute walk from here. I get on a subway from Dongguan to Humen, and that's 20 minutes. And then the high speed rail takes me 30 minutes. So literally, I could be in Hong Kong getting off the train, the high speed rail, in under an hour. And once I get my green card, which I already applied for my green card, the in and out of China and Hong Kong is just beep, beep, a couple of beeps, and that's it. You cross the border. So things in Hong Kong have been changing gradually. And it's just the way it should be, because it belongs to China. The transition towards a system that actually is run from China and by China takes 50 years. But it's not going to happen on 2047 at midnight, if you know what I mean. The different things that are changing, but to see the whole 2019 situation in Hong Kong really broke a lot of hearts, because the way that a lot of foreigners saw Hong Kong, at least living in Guangdong, is like, this is what China is aspiring to be. Do you know what I mean? A city where everything works to the T. Um, people, how to say, um, not to say that there are no bad things taking place in Hong Kong, but it just seemed like a more organized place, if you know what I mean. and that's what it felt like for a lot of foreigners here, as opposed to at least Dongguan, my city. Okay, it seemed like a more organized place, and to see it go down into such turmoil, you're like, it just things on fire. You couldn't go there. You couldn't go. The last time I left China was 2018, I think. No, 2019, when some of the riots had already started. Because you didn't want to go there. You didn't want to be in the middle of a situation that could endanger you. There was fear. There is actual fear and terror in the people of Hong Kong. So that's why I call them terrorists, because the people of Hong Kong were terrorized by these rioters. And then to learn that there were a lot of three-letter organizations behind what took place, yeah, it was very concerning. And the second thing was, okay, what is China going to do? What is Beijing going to do, right? And to see Beijing let things play out politically and not send the PLA, that was such a good move, if you ask me. Um, every right to go in, but they just patience, let let Hong Kong deal with its own things, and that to me was a huge positive. Very very reassuring as to the cold, level-headed minds in Beijing. Um, so there you go. Um, where was I? So back to your question. um, I don't know why Macau is so peaceful. Um, and why they don't go for Macau. I'm glad they don't. So thank you for your question, Ferry. A lot of people saying congratulations, thank you, Estam, thank you. Yeah, I've been at 30,000 subscribers for a very long time. Okay. Let's see. Tony says a recent Western YouTuber traveled to Tibet, so they needed a permit and were required to have a guide for the visit. Okay, Tony, I haven't had the opportunity to go to Xinjiang. This is true. For foreigners, you need to apply for a permit and you need to travel with a guide. Here's an interesting thing that I don't know. And because this is very new, I haven't had the chance to ask anybody. Maybe Jason Smith. I don't know if he's watching, but I'll probably ask him later. Um, if you have a green card, or what is called the 5 gold stars now, which is kind of like your permanent residence in China, it basically works like a 身份证, like an ID, like a Chinese ID for everything. You don't need a work permit. You don't need your passport anymore. This works everywhere in the banks and the transportation everywhere. Would it be possible to, because Chinese people don't need any permits. Chinese people can go in and out without any issues. So would this card allow me to travel into Xinjiang without the permit? I don't know the answer to that question. I'll post it to you guys if anybody knows. But yeah, for the time being, it is so. There's a couple of things about Xinjiang that are similar to Xinjiang. It's huge. It's so vast, and the population density is very very low. So there's vast areas of nothing. There's very very vast areas of nothing, which makes it a little bit difficult to secure or to monitor in terms of uh, people crossing borders illegally and things like that. So the high altitude is another factor. So okay, let's go into those factors one by one. Um, Border crossing, it's important. So if you're a foreigner, you must have a permit. If they find you somewhere in Xinjiang, like okay, you must be registered somewhere, right? Um, you don't belong here, or you have a permit to be here. So that's the first thing. Now the other thing is these are risky areas. Let me explain. For example, in 2021, I drove my car to Qinghai. I had a rooftop tent. I've always been excited about the outdoors, and driving is my passion. So we drove like 5,000 kilometers to Qinghai, and we were going into a place called the Mars Camp, which is like a desert area. Um, and we were told that we couldn't go in. This is Qinghai, okay, completely different. It's not Xinjiang, it's not Xinjiang, it's not, Qinghai is just a regular province, so it's one of those. Anyway, it's a province. I might be wrong about the denomination. But then the police told us that we couldn't go in any further, that we needed to turn around and go some other place because earlier somebody had died in the desert. Like a foreigner had gone on a hike and something terrible happened to them. So it became kind of like a diplomatic scandal. So the police said, like, okay, you cannot go there. It's a bit too dangerous if you venture, because these are places where there are wild animals. There's wolves. There's even some the sun, for example, can if you get stranded and you run out of water, you're cooked. So there are areas that are dangerous places to go to just because of nature. So they try to protect people from that. Xinjiang being so high up the mountains, that causes another problem. Um, so yeah, China has certain areas where you need permits to go to. For example, I haven't been to Xinjiang, as I said, Tony, but I've been to Xinjiang. In Xinjiang, you don't need a permit to go to Xinjiang. However, if you want to go to the border areas, like the border near Pakistan, or there's like 7, 8 borders in Xinjiang. Every time you want to visit one of those borders, or Hordos, or I forgot the other one right now. Um, but you need a permit. You kind of like you need to register yourself and say like, hey, I'm going to the border area, and not just foreigners, all Chinese, because it's a border area, and because it borders some countries like Afghanistan that have issues, right, with terrorism and whatnot. So it makes sense to know who's going in and who's going out. Now, in another area of Xinjiang, for example, in the southeast, right, when you enter from Sichuan, there's a city called Hami. And if you go south Hami about 60 or 100 kilometers, you get to a desert area, which is called the Haidao. And that area, you also need to get a permit and register. No borders, no nothing. It's just sheer danger. There's no phone signal over there. Temperatures go up to 50 degrees every now and then, not every day, right? But it's very hot. It's desert. There's absolutely nothing there. There's no roads. Well, the roads are just gravel roads that they made. So they want to know how many heads go in and how many heads come out, if you know what I mean. And there is a maximum capacity because there's a hotel like 80 kilometers into this desert, and they only have a certain number of rooms, like whatever, 40 rooms or whatever. So it's very limited who can go in there and who can go out. It's absolutely beautiful, but that's the reason why they ask this permit. So when China asks you for permits to go somewhere, there is a reason. There are usually valid reasons for that. Thank you, Tony, for your question. Okay. DW, congratulations. Thank you. Okay, the stock market in America has crashed. Was there any impact for China? I hear Japan is in crisis. Well, the impact for China, I think, is got to do with two things. Number one, how is it going to affect the exchange rate? Number two, how is it affecting um, the interest rates, right? And what is it going to do to the markets? Because usually, okay, the situation in Japan, as I understand it, is when interests go down, which is something that Japan has been forced to do, then the money goes out looking for better interests in other places, and that affects every other part that is connected to the market. People used to invest in Japan for two reasons. There was decent interest, and people were counting on the yen getting weaker and weaker and weaker against the yen, so they would hedge their investments basically, because you would buy dollars with yen and then you would return the yen, um, having earned more dollars. Uh, but when things start to change, then people panic and people just run away from the market and try to put their money somewhere else. So that could have an impact on exchange rates all over the place. Uh, I think that the more direct impact for China is how much debt they own from the United States, because that America needs countries to buy debt, and if countries are dumping debt, the only thing that America can do is increase rates, right, to make it more appealing to the people, to the countries. But the thing is, it becomes appealing to private investors, and private investors are not as um, forgiving with interest rates changing, right? So as a country, you can hold on to your position or to your reserves, right, independently of rates going up and down. But as a private investor, if your return is being compromised, you pull your money out. That's the risk for the United States. So all this money moving out of Japan will have an effect on America's position, and that might have more of an effect on China. I don't think China will ever go back to buying debt anymore. Um, China's a civilization, meaning that they learn through experience, and 2008, 2009 taught them very important lessons. You help the US, they're not exactly grateful. So I don't think that China is in a direction of wanting to help the US just because it is the US. If China ever gets back to helping the US, is not to help the US, but to help the world economy not collapse. That when people say, "Oh, China wants to replace the US dollar," China is afraid of what America is doing to the US dollar. They're being so irresponsible with the US dollar. So they will help to the degree that it benefits them as well. A collapse of the global economy helps nobody. It doesn't help China. So in that sense, China was like, how can we help? How can we mitigate the effects of this situation worldwide with wars, with the the depression, actually the recession that is starting to set in America. Some people were commenting and saying like, um, just because you redefine what a recession is doesn't mean that there is no recession. Recession used to be just 2 quarters of no growth, of negative growth, and that's what took place. And they're like, no, no, no. And then America went out and started redefining what a recession is. But America has been experiencing a recession. So this poor jobs report of late July, it just started that domino effect of many things confluating, many things coming together, like the $2.9 trillion just wiped out from the stock market. It's a it's a complicated situation, and I think that China is worried about what's going to happen to the US dollar, not so much the US. US is an important customer. China's got plenty of customers elsewhere that could help offset whatever damage there is if the American economy goes down. But China is more worried about the global economy, because the transition to other forms of payment, to other currencies that will allow for world trade and global trade to continue, is not there yet. It's like this close, but it's not there yet. Um, Bitcoin is not going to make it. My video yesterday about Donald Trump suggesting that Bitcoin, oh, we can just pay our national debt to our foreign creditors using Bitcoin. And I'm like, people are not asking the right questions. How are you going to buy the Bitcoin? How are you going to buy 35 trillion US dollar worth of Bitcoin without having the 35 trillion US dollars to buy the Bitcoin? If you're going to use that money to buy Bitcoin, just give the money to the countries, right? But that's just it's just political stuff. It's just political stuff. It's just Trump talking to people who vote for reasons that are not real reasons. You see Kamala Harris talking about inflation. So what are you gonna do about the inflation? Oh well, inflation is just prices go up, and then it says you can't buy less, and like, yeah, but what are you going to do about it? She just gives you the stupidest definition of inflation without telling you what she's going to do. So that's what America is dealing with right now. A political leadership that has brought the country and the world, yeah, under its wing to this situation, and they don't know how to get out of it. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not going to say it's going to happen in a month, but everything is pointing in the direction of a major collapse. Time wise, I can't tell you. I'm not an expert, but look at jobs, look at inflation, look at circulation of US dollar, look at debt not stopping, look at all these skirmishes of war all over the globe. It seems to be pointing in that direction. So the effect to China is going to try and protect its interests as much as it can in terms of keeping the economy afloat until there's something that can be used to replace. Okay. What made me adopt the Wu Mao? Look, because I talk about China from China and I just give my understanding of things from China as a non-Chinese, just a person who has been here in the country for 24 years. I have worked in projects with my local government. I have I have seen how much work goes into turning China into what it is today. You cannot imagine the amount of work and mistakes and corrections that go into making China what China is today. But I had the opportunity to have a small glimpse at that when I helped my local government. And now, when I am researching more and talking more about China, just people call you a Wu because you're telling them what you see, because you're telling them what you know is happening. And I thought, well, maybe it's a marketing thing. Do you know what I mean? If they already call me a Wumao, if everybody's typing the word Wumao, maybe it will make my channel or my show appear more in searches, right? If I call it the Wumao show. To me, it's no offense when people call me a Wumao. A Wumao, I don't know if you guys know the origin of that word. I'm sure you do if you're here. uh, Basically, is apparently there's an army of internet people just posting positive things about China or contradicting things, and the idea is that they get paid 50 cents for every post. That's Wu Mao. That's the accusation. It's never been proven, and it just became a meme, an internet meme. This whole idea of Wu Mao. So when people call me a Wu Mao, it doesn't hurt me whatsoever. We have a word for Americans in Colombia, which is gringo. We call everybody gringo, and if they get offended, I think that's on them. Gringo came from the Mexican War, where the American uniform was green, and the Mexicans, which were invaded and they got a lot of the land stolen, were telling the Americans, "Green, go home." So that became gringo. There you go, a little bit of history for you. So that's Wu Mao. I thought that it will help with the clicks. um, it's not my handle. It's just a logo for a show. Okay, this show has this logo. Okay, doping. Well, WADA says there is no doping on the Chinese, so I don't know what you're typing here, Cheng Yang Feng. You have any evidence? Take it to WADA, see what they do with it. Okay. Ferry, you're welcome. Do you think as no Yang consulate or embassy? Oh, Jesus. Yes, Trevor. Absolutely. 100% there is correlation to that. Um, a lot of the protests that we saw, for example, in 2022, remember when there were protests against COVID, a lot of those protests happened just kilometers away, a few kilometers away from the American consulate in Shanghai. That's where everything started. Um, so yes, most definitely that could have something to do. Very good point, Trevor. That there's no American consulate in Macau. Good point. Um, okay, let's see. There are a lot of remote places that are dangerous. Yes, you do with the U.S. You go down with the U.S. Yeah. Alvarni, I just subscribed yesterday after watching your video on the Olympics, but I subscribed finding out that you put out financial news too. Um, okay. I put content about just about anything related to China. So when this is how I work. Basically, I follow the news. I follow different think tanks from China, outside of China, and I follow what piques my interest. Okay, one of the topics that piqued my interest a lot lately is something called multipolarity. There's a website called Multipolar Peace that is led by Warwick Powell, and there's a group of very high level professors and researchers in that group. I suggest everybody. Let me just type it here so you guys can go and join www. Oh, uh, Multipolar Peace, and I just typed it incorrectly. Sorry, guys. You can correct the backslash. But here's the thing. Basically, it's not a pro China thing. It's not a pro US thing. It's a pro peace thing. And so I've been reading a lot and I've been following a lot of what they write, what they say. So sometimes there's financial stuff. Sometimes there's diplomatic stuff. Sometimes there's military stuff. Sometimes it's just governance. So just about anything that relates to China and how China connects to the world, trying to explain it from my understanding of China. That's what I post about. Every now and then there's financial stuff. I'm not a financial expert, so I go from publicly available information. Basically, that's what I could tell you, and my interpretation of those things. But thank you for subscribing. US dollar is printed out of thin air and it's not backed by anything. Yes, fiat money. It's been off the gold standard. Okay. G Shep, a YouTuber in Shin Jang went to a marketplace to see it was turned down and under construction. They questioned why it wasn't just reconstructed. Um, Look, I've my experience in Xinjiang. In case you guys don't know, I visited Xinjiang last year. I was there for a full 5 months, 142 days, traveling freely, absolutely freely. Just it was my car, and I had an RV trailer, and I was traveling with my wife. My wife is Chinese, my two cats, and my dog, and we just went anywhere we wanted. Literally anywhere we wanted. More than 40 locations, small, big, just about anything. Big cities, small villages. So I got to see that vastness. I got to see the development. I got to see the culture, the different cultures, because there's many, many minorities in there. Um, and there's a couple of things. One is a lot of things needed to be improved for two reasons. Number one, for safety, as in some, for example, we visited a mosque that's actually closed because it's so dangerous. It's so old. It's about to fall. You can see in one of my videos. I have another channel called Are We There Yet, where I post some of my travel things, but I've been a bit busy, so I haven't posted there. But there, I visited that particular mosque, and it's closed off because it might fall down any minute. And it's not just the only one. There are many other mosques that are created, that are built around Xinjiang, these tiny villages, right? So they have 500 people in a village and they have a mosque, but it's not necessarily built to safety standards or is illegally built, which is another issue. If you want to build a mosque, you need to ask for permits. If you build it without the permits, then that's an issue. Um, and as for markets, it happens all the time. For example, to attract tourism, you need to improve the facilities. A good example is the Kashgar ancient city. Yeah, it used to be a market, and they just went in, invested tons and tons of money on making the roads nice, the buildings better, and then more people go, the local people make more money. How is that wrong? How is that bad? Um, the other one that I saw, where was it? A similar situation. Oh, in Khotan, Hetian, in the south, close to the border with Xinjiang, with Tibet. Same thing. They go in there, and this is something that the government actually takes pride in doing. So they go there and they take a photo. This is this shop the way it was 10 years ago, and this is what you see today. We just improve the well-being of people. We just improve the facilities so that more people will come here. So there's a debate. There's a debate as to what is cultural heritage and what needs to be protected, and what benefits from, well, improving the locations. And that's a debate that's worth having. Um, but there's blatant accusations of, oh, they're just destroying. No, they're not just destroying everything. There's a lot of people there's a lot of things that are preserved. There's a lot of things that are kept as tourist attractions, as cultural heritage, as and other places that are improved so as to more people, uh, to accept more people in, and to benefit the economy of the local people. Um, Jerry Gray just did a fantastic video about. Somebody was talking about Jerry Gray, the YouTuber. He just came back from Xinjiang, from Westerns call it Tibet, and he was saying something very interesting. He was saying, like, when you go to Hawaii, for example, you're welcome with ladies dancing, right, with the lua and the orchids, and they put, and then you drive out of the airport, or your five-star hotel, and you don't see that. You don't see that in local people. So that's Hawaiian culture for display. Now, when people go to Xinjiang and they go to a performance, right? It's the same thing. I understand those people are dressed and they're dancing for you for entertainment, as tourist promotion. It happens everywhere. You go to Mexico, you get the mariachi with the big hat and your piña colada. Every country does it, but you don't see guys with big ass hats walking down the street in Mexico, do you? And that's where the difference is. And that's where the difference is. When you go to Xinjiang and you go out of the touristy areas, you do see those costumes. You do see those clothes. You do see those dances. You do see the music. You see the land. That has not disappeared in Xinjiang. And as Jerry was saying, that has not disappeared in Xinjiang, in Tibet either. So there. Um, Keeping the culture in a place like Xinjiang is hard work. And whatever you do, you're gonna get attacked. Right? Oh, these people, they're dancing for the tourists. Yes, like the mariachi is playing for the tourists. Get out of there, and you'll see them. And I have some videos about that. There's a live stream that I did where I saw there's no foreigners in that city, very few tourists. And we were walking at night doing a live stream, and I turned right on a little alleyway, and we end up in a public square, people just dancing. It's like a disco night. It was a Friday night, I think, or a Saturday night. It was like a disco night, and people playing live music and just dancing, with some of them with their traditional costumes, some of them with modern costumes. Um, I say costumes, I probably should say just clothes. Um, so this is real. This is their culture, still there, still visible to this day. Okay, let's move on. Leaders in denial being a recession. Yes. Hey, Willie Lee. How I changed the orientation of the cameras. Okay, this camera. Hold on. No, this camera is turned off. You suggested to change the orientation of the camera, so I did. I don't know if you checked out that one. Okay, where are we? It says congratulations on 40K. May it grow exponentially. It's crazy. YouTube does things to your channel. Definitely, definitely. Um, and I can prove it. Like for example, one of my videos that I did when I was in Shin Jang last year, the first day hit 22,000 views. I have posted my community. You can look at that. So the first day is just going like this. But I'm talking about Xinjiang as in showing you from Xinjiang the things that you need to understand to actually have a discussion about Xinjiang. Um, the video is called "If I
I'm
Knew."
not sure I understand.
Sorry, stupid Siri. So you see, Apple listens to you all the time. So the thing is going up crazy, and it just is axed zero. Nobody starts. Nobody watches that video anymore over one day. That is not normal. That is absolutely not normal. So there are certain topics that they don't want you to hear. There are certain things that they don't want people to be informed about. And that's the struggle with these channels. People often say, like, oh, you do this for money. People are stupid. I mean, the amount of equipment that I have invested here, probably a quarter of a million RMB. Lights, microphones, just is my hobby, is my passion, is what I like. There is no return on this. There is no return on this. And um, I am very, very upset at the fact that it's kind of like a bottleneck. You know what I mean? It's one of the reasons why I'm celebrating the video 40,000. I've been on 30,000 for at least 2 years, putting a lot of content, a content that is relevant and important. It's just there's that thumb on your channel that does not let you grow. Um, and when something escapes through the cracks, you get a video like this. My other most watched video sits at 180 something thousand views. It's a video about my car. I made a video about 4 years ago. I got my car and I said like, okay, why did I buy the Neo ES6 and not the Tesla Model 3 in 2020? Price is very comparative. There was only like a 20,000 difference on a 500,000 RMB car. That doesn't make a very big difference, right? But I chose the Neo for this and this and this and this and this and this. That's a video that's not political. Flew to the top. But when you're talking about, oh, I don't know, APAC, oh, I don't know, Israel, oh, Gaza, oh, the CIA, oh, it all goes down to just what I was saying, a few thousand views per video, which is I'll still do it. You know what I mean? I'll still do it because it's my passion. It's what I like doing. I like communicating, and there's something that I've been pushing on lately, which is my Spanish channel. You can find it as China para ti. I'll type it here if you guys want to click China para ti. Perhaps you guys don't understand Spanish, but you can help me grow that channel. That channel has been growing slowly. It's at 1,400 subscribers, but I think that there aren't too many people in that space, in the Spanish speaking space, that have the information that I have, the experience that I have, the equipment that I have, the communication ability that I have to whatever degree that's an ability. So I think that there's an opportunity for me there. So and I know that this English speaking niche is very competitive. There's people from all over the world trying to communicate and trying to show China to the world in English because it's the language that we all speak, right? So yeah, um, I was very surprised with this video, pleasantly surprised, and that's why I wanted to come here and meet you guys and let you ask me questions and learn about me. Uh, Trevor, have you met Jerry? Yes, 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 yes. Jerry Gray is a good friend. Back in 2021, in the middle of COVID, I had a podcast. I had a podcast called, Jesus, I forgot the name. Uh, that's China? I forgot the name. Ah, anyway, I had a podcast with an Israeli guy, and we interviewed people all over the town, all over the Guangdong area. So Jerry came with his wife to do that podcast, but because we heard about his writing in Xinjiang and his books and all his stories about writing in Xinjiang, so we met him in 2021, and since then we kind of clicked, as in I don't know. We just became friends. So he comes to Dongguan often. I go to Zhongshan to see him often. Um, I take credit for a little bit of his improvements in tech. His wife hates it when I go to Zhongshan. What are you going to sell him? Because I've sold him his camera is mine, used to be mine. Uh, give him advice with lights, with microphones, with this, with that. So we're very good friends. We're very close friends, and we collaborate here and there. And it's one of the people that um, has helped me a lot with my messaging, in a sense that he told me something that I appreciate very much, and I think that a lot of people have seen. I used to be very passionate about my message in a negative way. I used to be very because it is upsetting to me. I mean, some of the things that I see being posted, being said, being told about China are upsetting to the point where you literally get angry. Like I know this is not true. I'll give you an example. Lawan 86. I never talk about those bastards, but let's talk about him. They posted a video, him and Serpenza. They posted a video. You can't work in China if you get married. I mean, when you hear that, you're like, oh, China bad. Being married has absolutely nothing to do with your qualifications to do a job. You can get married and you can work if you qualify for that job. That's the difference. So, this is the kind of thing that did you see my blood just start to boil a little bit? Because what they do is they take things and they twist them into things that make China look bad for the purpose of making China look bad. If you have the qualifications to work in China, married or not, doesn't matter. You can work in China. That's the thing. A lot of people get married so that they can stay in China and work illegally. I'm not going to say that that was their case. I'm just saying that a lot of people do that. I don't. I have my work permit. I have my company. I have no reason to be here and work under a marriage visa. None, because I have the qualifications to work here. So what Jerry has told me is basically cool it down. Just give you a message. Just tell people what it is and how it is, and don't get upset on camera. Don't get angry on camera. Don't get emotional. I'm Latino, and that's the issue, right? Latinos, we're like that. So yeah, Jerry, I've helped him with technical stuff, and he's helped me with messaging and communication, and um, yeah, we're very close friend. He's a good mentor in many aspects. His ability to do research. I've just sat with him and said, like, tell me, how do you? Sorry, uh, how do you do research? How do you approach a topic? It's like just you got to learn how to ask the questions. You got to learn how to phrase your questions so that you get the answers that you need, because we are on Western platforms. So if I go on Google, Google is going to tell me what Google wants me to see, right? So how do I learn the truth about something? So he's been a great mentor. If you don't know, this is his website. This is his Jerry's take. Oh, yo, sorry. On China. Yeah, yeah, Maya. Jerry's Jerry's take on China. Is that correct? Yes, that should be it. That's his channel. Go subscribe to him. He's phenomenal. And there's something about he was a police officer in the UK, and he even protected the Queen, the not the Queen exactly, but the royal family. But he's got a very inquisitive mind, which is very interesting to listen to. You know what they say? You should always be the stupidest person in a room, because that's how you learn. So that's how I feel when I'm with Jerry. I'm the stupidest in the room, so I learned a lot from him. Okay. Okay, if you collaborate with other China-based YouTubers around Shenzhen, you'll gain more subscribers. Um, yeah, okay, Sarah Jansen, it jumped up to 30,000. There's a thing about perhaps there's one thing that I don't want to go too deep into it, because um, I've burned a few bridges in the past. It's a competition. Everybody wants to be out there, right? Everybody wants to just get the message across, and it's a competition, and people will do things that you don't agree with to get ahead, right? So in a circle of, let's call them China-based YouTube content creators, um, it's difficult to find. It's not that easy to collaborate, is what I'm saying. And then there's cliques, cliques, basically, or groups. So if you have an issue with this person, that automatically affects your relationship with other people. If you have a relationship with that person, then or if you have an issue with this person, do you know what I'm saying? So I think that the less I say, the better. But there are YouTubers that you just really don't click with. Um, or they don't click with you, because it's a two-way street, right? So this cooperations and collaborations, to me, I've been making videos for 7 years, right? And I have a video about that. Yeah, in WeChat groups where we coordinate things. Um, I created 3 groups, and I stepped out of 3 groups, because you end up you there's like internet friends, so to speak. You really don't know who they are, where they stand. For example, there's a YouTuber, I shall not say his name, a fat guy who killed his dogs. That's all I'm going to say. I made videos with that guy. He's an American guy. He was wanted by police in America for killing his dogs and living with his dogs in his bedroom until the neighbors called the police, because the stench was just, but you don't know. So I met with the guy, had lunch with the guy, made a couple of videos with the guy. And then when that comes to light, you're like, what have I done? So lessons, lessons you learn. You don't know people. So my approach to collaborations, Will, is I want to know the person. I want to know the person, get to know them outside of the internet, and get a better understanding of who they are, where they're coming from. Because it is very easy to be liked by Chinese people. Listen to this. It's very easy to be liked by Chinese people. You say nice things about China, and Chinese people are going to like you. I'm not about that. That's not what I'm about. That's what a lot of people are about. That's not what I'm about. I'm about I see something that I know is not true, and then I talk about it. I see something that I know it's not like that, and that I want to clarify it. Um, China is a place like any other place that has issues, problems, things that I dislike. Say something you don't like about China. I don't like China, how they smoke wherever they want to smoke. There's one thing that I don't like. I don't like, for example, the fact that um, they don't have English versions of the driving tests for motorcycles. So if you don't read Chinese, you cannot get a motorcycle driver's license. I don't like these regulations, for example, about non-native English speakers not being able to teach English, right? That came down around 2000, whatever. It doesn't matter whether you have a degree, whether you speak the way I do, right? It doesn't matter. But I'm from Colombia. I'm not native speaker. Therefore, by law, I should not be able to speak to teach English. And then my question to that is, what are all those Chinese people who went to university to become English teachers doing at Chinese schools? Those are non-native non-native English speakers, Chinese people teaching English at schools. So they're not native, but they can teach. I'm not native, but I cannot teach. So when people ask me, um, say things that you don't like, the reason why I don't say that is because there's tons of people out there making thousands of dollars doing that. That's their job. that's their that's their thing. That's what they do. I could. Why would I? There's no point. I rather focus on things that are not true and presenting the truth, presenting what you're not being told. That's basically my channel. So I'm not over here um, kicking, not kicking, leaking ass, and I'm not over there dumping on China. I'm just working on misinformation. That's my avenue. That's my path in front of me. Misinformation. You're being misinformed about this. So yeah, and sometimes you get in positions that change you as a person. Let me give you an example. I'm an animal lover, absolutely, but I eat meat. I eat beef. I eat pork. I eat chicken. Right. I have a dog. I've had dogs all my life. I had two cats. I love cats and dogs. So I am in the north of China just a few months ago, finishing my 3-year trip around China. And we go into a market, and I'm shooting a video. I'm shooting a documentary. Oh, I shot a documentary. Now I'm editing the documentary that will be released October 1st. This is my little present to China, self-funded for those wondering. So I woke up the stairs to this market. It's an open market, a wet market, if you will. And the second, like the mezzanine, is like the meat section. And I turned left. 3 dogs ready to be consumed. I'm like, so I get this impact, this oh my god, and that emotion that like oh. But I turn to the right, and all I see is pig heads and rib cages and goat legs, and I'm like, why I don't get this when I see a pig head? I mean, if you're a vegetarian, I understand you and I are very different. But what I'm trying to say is it's cultural. That was a very wide open eyes to me. Why I don't feel this gut uncomfortable feeling when I see a chicken leg, when I see when I see a do you know what I'm saying? I'll give you a second to think about what I'm saying. We eat weird animals in Colombia. Every weekend we would stop at a place going to my country house where I grew up, where barbecue rabbit is one of those fondest memories of me growing up in Colombia. What could be cuter than a rabbit? But I have no mental f up about eating a rabbit. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's all cultural. It's all based on your how you were brought up, your tradition, and people eat what they eat. And that moment was an extremely revealing moment for me in that market in Dongbei. I think it was we were close to the Russian border. I don't like it. I don't particularly like the idea of dogs being eaten, but I respect it. Not my country, not my traditions. Probably they hate the fact that I eat rabbit when I was growing up, and if I could, I would eat more rabbit right now. Right? It's respect. It's understanding. It's the flexibility of the mind of the heart to know that we're different people and we live different lives and with different sets of values. That doesn't make us bad people. It just makes us different. That's all. The one thing where I draw the line, and this is something that's been on the internet quite a lot, is torture of animals. If an animal is killed humanely, that's one thing. If it's not killed humanely, there I have an issue. There's huge legislation going on. There's a lot of talk here in China about legislation being passed to expand pet and animal protections. Um, Heavy topic. I might make a video about that when that is sorted out, but I just wanted to share that. Um, I don't know why I ended up talking about this. Okay, Shin Jang is beautiful. Did you get go to Kashgar? I went. Okay, 100,000 kilometers in Xinjiang. That's what I drove. 100,000 kilometers. I went everywhere, everywhere. Um, Kashgar buildings were made of mud. Yeah, they were very, very unsafe. Thank you, KK Downing. Muslim customer more in southern Xinjiang. Yeah, that's true. Most people say that if you want to see the culture of Xinjiang, you go to the south. If you want to see the scenery, which is one of my favorite places in the world right now, is Sanlimu. Just the snow mountains, the clear blue water, just beautiful. Sanlimu Lake, Google it, is just out of this world. So people go to the north to see the scenery, and people go to the south to see the culture. The desert, the Taklamakan Desert, is in the south, and um, that makes the biggest contrast. Now, however, if you are lucky enough to be able to drive, there is a highway about 600 kilometers that goes north to south from. It's called the Duku Highway, and it takes about 2 days to drive it. It's a highway, Dukushe to Kuche in the south, and it takes you to all the different um, scenarios of Xinjiang, from the snow-capped mountains to the valleys to the desert to the. It's an amazing journey that you do in 2 days by car, and beautiful. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of like it's Xinjiang summarized, if I could put it some way. Okay, G, thank you, Fernando. I really felt that there was good reason for the construction when the question that, yeah, yeah. Share your video. Thank you, Cosmo Ray. Thank you. It's an interesting video for a lot of people to see. Um, People argue: is it racism or is it just inquiries into what could have been doping or not doping? When you start talking about people as not humans, I think that's when you start drawing the line. That's what Brett Hockey was doing. It's not human. It's not human. How do you create an enemy when you make it look like not human? So I think that needed to be called out, and he deleted that video, and he's gotten so much more heat than my 150,000 views, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, that didn't sound as not racism, right? It's not human possible. It's not human. What is he? A fish? Um, the wording of things is what matters, right? He didn't word it properly. Congratulations. Thank you, speaking the truth, being here with me for quite a lot. Finger red number one. Yeah. Okay. Who's this? Trevor, speaking the truth. We'll be okay. Three of them. Trevor, you're a legend. You always staying late. Julie, always giving me hearts. Thank you so much. Jerry's taken China. Yeah. Captain Canuck. No, the Israeli guy left China. Uh, I'm not going to talk about people's back, but let's say he left unwillingly. KG Shipka, Jerry Cyrus, Alex Daniel, and many others. Yeah, okay. I did a video with Cyrus when I first went to Shin Jang in 2021. I went with Noel Lee, Singaporean. I said, like, dude, let's just get on a plane and go to Xinjiang. And because at the time, the talk was that you can't go to Xinjiang. I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So I talked to Noah, like, Noah, I'm going to Xinjiang. You want to come? Sure. He's Singaporean. So me, my wife, and him, we just bought tickets, flew to Xinjiang, and said, like, okay, I want to make 3 videos here. I made 3 videos, and the message was just stop lying. You can come to Xinjiang and you can make videos in Xinjiang. This is 2021, okay? So that video also had quite a lot of views, right? Because it was so hot at the time, the topic. And Cyrus say, hey, can we have an interview? Can we talk about your experience, guys? So I did a video with Cyrus about that. I had a couple of comments about Cyrus. In one of his thumbnails, he went a little bit. There's 2 things that I commented on Twitter on him. He there was this. I think it's a diplomat from Singapore or Malaysia, Singapore, I think, and he suggested he gave it a speech, right, talking about a solution to the Taiwan question. So like, oh, maybe China should create a Commonwealth and include Taiwan into the Commonwealth. And so like, and then Cyrus was saying, oh, that's a good idea. And I'm like, don't you know nothing about China? What makes you think that China would give Taiwan grounds to call itself a nation, grounds to call itself a country? It is just not going to happen. And if you want to go further, even the Taiwanese constitution, the ROC constitution, claims the mainland as part of the territory. So it's an impossibility. So that was a little bit like, I don't know where you're posting this. I mean, what makes you think this would be doable, either from the China side or the Taiwan side? It's just not going to work in any way. So that baffled me a little bit, that he was defending or postulating that as a possibility. The other one was a video that he posted, like, oh, we're at war. And I'm like, and there's bombs and tanks and all kinds of things going on in the thumbnail. And I'm like, should I warn my in-laws that we're already at war? Like, there's a bit of there's clickbait, and then there's clickbait. We're not at war. There might be a trade war, but we're not at war. There's no tanks and F-16s bombing. No. Hopefully we will never get there. So that was my line. Alex worked many times with him. Just absolutely, that guy operates at a very high level. His intellect is just, his idea about marketing and conducting his channel and whatnot, great. We've done different projects together. I was in my RV in 2022, We made a documentary about COVID, and I shared my experiences about COVID. So yeah, I've been on his when I visited Chongqing earlier, late last year. We did a couple of live streams. Um, Alex is great. Daniel, the goat. It, you don't get more articulate than Daniel Dumbrell. It's just he could sell me a hole. He could sell me a cloud. The guy is very good. His oral ability is fantastic, and the way he structures his arguments is a sure follow. We've met several times. We've made a couple of videos with my podcast. We made a video with him as well. Um, I met him in person a couple of times in Chongqing, Shin Jang. Great guy. Um, Many others who are working hard to get the truth out about China. Yes, there's many people out there. The collaboration is. I have to meet the people before. Lee Barrett, for example, wonderful guy, smart, super smart. We talk all the time. Okay, let's talk about this one. Rise of Western civilization were due to lots of stealing. Yeah, yeah. Um, the Western civilization, people call it more Western Empire or the American Empire. And there's a difference. And there's a video that I'm making about that, the difference between an empire and a civilization. A civilization doesn't die, doesn't die. America with 240 something years of existence, far from being a civilization. Okay. Jerry would not want to be a copyright indicator at the moment. Oh yes, man, that situation is really, really bad. Okay, I shouldn't have clicked that. I don't want to give that guy any advertisement, but yes, you're right, Captain Canuck. It's not a link. Sorry, let me put this here. Speaking the truth, it's not a link. It's a show. So it's my channel, but I have different shows. So whenever I have a show that I want to brand as the Wu Mao Show, it appears here. Let me show you, for example, some of the different shows that I have. I have this one. This was called The War on China. Yeah, I had this show, The War on China. So it's just different shows on this channel, if you know what I mean. I had this one with Mario Cavolo. I had this one with another friend. This is called 30 and G. So different shows that I try to do with different people, you know, and they all have different. I design the different. This was China Time. Yeah, this was our show, China Time. This was the podcast, China Time. So yeah, again, I've been at this for quite a long time, 7 years, and I've tried different things. To see a video do so well, like the one of Pang, I wanted to meet people. I wanted to talk to you guys, to this 2,500 new people and the old people, and give you guys an opportunity to get to know me a little bit better. Ask me any questions that you want. Okay, no. George Eo. Yeah. George Eo. You're right, Alvanry. Not Kishori. Kishori, phenomenal also. Yes, he has a few insightful takes. Yeah. But again, I mean, you've got to see that would be a tremendous compromise from China and from ROC to accept a Commonwealth type of situation, because the Americans would jump at it and become another Japan, another Singapore, another Philippine in the making. You guys heard that there's freaking missiles now in the Philippines that can reach China? That's what I talk about, the things that affect me. The things that affect me. When there's US troops 3 kilometers from Xiamen, 3 kilometers from Xiamen, there are US troops. Those things affect me. And people need to know what's taking place. China is not going to invade Taiwan, has no reason to invade Taiwan. China will defend Taiwan. Why do you have... If you respect the one China policy, if you respect the sovereignty of China, and Taiwan belongs to China, as the State Department website says, as all your politicians says, why are you selling weapons to Taiwan? Why are your diplomats going to Taiwan when it is clearly stated that that's not agreeable? Why are your troops in Taiwan? Why are you offending the sovereignty of China by doing that? So that's what I do. I point fingers at the hypocrisy and the side of the story that you're not being told. So yeah, that idea of the Commonwealth caught me by surprise. I'm like, huh? Uh, Daniel is phenomenal. He's a very busy man. He's a very busy man. He's got 5 children, uh, businessman. Uh, have you seen his studio? Okay, a little bit of blowing my horn here. I help him set up that studio. Basically, for a long time in this YouTube community, a lot of people saw me as like the guy to ask when you want to know how to set up your stuff. So that's why I helped Jerry. That's why I helped Daniel. Um, a few people I've helped, like, oh, like what camera, what lens, what microphone, what light, what not. So um, yeah. So and it's something. It is who I am. If I can say it somehow, I'm a I'm a giver more than I am a taker. I'm happy to see people doing better. I'm happy to see people uh, improving the quality of their videos. Not necessarily the content, because the content, I don't think I can contribute to that. Daniel's content is phenomenal. But if he asks me a question about, I don't know, a microphone or a light, or how to handle noise or whatever, more than happy to help. More than happy to help anybody, basically. So, and that all happens behind closed doors. You don't see any of that. But yes, Daniel has a phenomenal studio. He did a video with Patrick Lancaster and Alex and Cyrus. That was a video that I would have not recommended. They were so cramped in that space. They were like 4 people. They were like side to side. And Daniel is super, super tall. Cyrus is also very tall. Well, Patrick Lancaster and Alex is tall, but not as tall. So it looked weird. That would have been a live stream that would have probably required at least 3 cameras. Um, Cosmo, no. He's still in China. We had lunch just the other day. He's still in China. He's just not posting on Twitter anymore. He's a businessman, and that's what he does. So he's dedicated to a business. But we had lunch 7 days ago here in Dongguan. He lives here in Dongguan. He has a home here in Dongguan. He's married to his Chinese wife, and they live here in Dongguan. There you go. That's no. Okay, you're not gonna see it there. There. Just when was it? July 24th. Still here in China. The Western empires have been exposed as nations of lies. Yeah. Perhaps you, Fernando, didn't know you were so tech savvy. If there's something that I like, is I like learning. I absolutely love learning. I early in my youth, I gave myself this idea of, okay, every 5 years you should become an expert at something. So at 25, I became a skydiving instructor. I went all the way from jumping in those, they call papillon, those round D-Day kind of parachutes that break your back every time you land, all the way to being an instructor within 5 years. After that, I came to China. I said, okay, I'm going to start my company here in China. And that became that learning curve of those 5 years. After that, what was it? Okay, I'm going to become an Ironman. Oh no, sorry. I want to become a scuba diving instructor. So I dedicated 5 years in which all my time, money, and energy goes to become something of an expert. So I became from never having used a tank to become an open water scuba dive instructor, with some specialty in rescue diving and first response. So after that was triathlon, right? So learning about diet and the science and muscle twitch, slow twitch, fast twitch, lactic acid, and all the things that allow you to compete for 15 hours at the maximum of your capacity without being a good triathlete. Your body has to be pushed to the limit, and you need to understand it. So yeah, that's always been my thing. And after I dropped triathlon around 2017, like, okay, I'm gonna give YouTube a try, and this one's been probably one of the longest things that I've tried. Now I'm at 7 years making YouTube videos, so I try to learn as much. If you if you go watch one of my first videos, you're like, I look as orange as the American swimmers look purple. I just didn't know anything about color or light or anything. So just learning, man, just learning. It's what I like. If I can learn, then that's what I do. Let me see. Okay, what else? Daniel Jumper, also busy businessman. He's got a brew puff. Yes, he's got a brew puff. Fernando owns State of Art and he's Tech China AV. Yeah, I even took my studio on the RV. So a lot of the videos that you see from a month ago, they were all shot in the RV, and then I have my lights and my cameras and everything. So I tried to take it on the road, but I'm done with the traveling. There's no more traveling for now. Um, what is the Americans' perception of the U.S.? Um, okay, let me answer that question in a moment. I want to answer this one here. Yes, this is my first live stream chat with my community. I mean, when I do a live stream, usually it's just I have a message, right? And I have something that I want to say. But because either I am talking to somebody else, we just do it as a live stream, or because I'm running out of time, so I don't have time to edit a video, so I'll just send a message in a live stream. So it's really not a conversation. This is the first time that I do in a very long time. I think I did another AMA with Noel Lee from Shin Jang. We did an AMA from Shin Jang in 2021. So I don't do them very often, but I thought that, man, it's been a long, long way from 30,000 to 40,000, at least a year and a half or 2 years on 30,000, being messed up with the algorithm. And so I felt like, okay, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate and let's welcome the new subscribers, the new people. So that's why I thought, hey, let's do an AMA. And because there's a lot of people who don't know where I come from. Like, even my channel has evolved so much. I started making videos about teaching in China. That's my channel used to be called China Teacher, because I'm a teacher in China. So it was all about, okay, if you want to come to teach in China, these are the things that you need to be careful with. So I talked about, well, what kind of license, what kind of degree, what kind of, be careful about this, be careful about that, like giving people insight into what do you need to be careful when you come to teach in China. As a business owner, right? I had that expertise, and like, this is what you need to be careful. These are the documents that you need. This is the thing. So giving people advice coming to China. After that, I went a little bit broader, and it was more about, okay, teaching in China has its own set, not just coming to China to teach and the legalities and whatnot and the pitfalls to be aware of, but also it's very different because you're talking to people who don't understand your language at all. And that came from my own experience, as in, I used to teach in the US to Central American kids, so I understood the language. And then I set up a training center in Colombia, my country, for about 3 years. Uh, and they spoke my language. I spoke their language. So coming to China is a completely different thing. And that was part of the challenge of me coming to China. I wanted to push my ability to teach and be successful in a place where I didn't understand my students. So that became the second stage of my YouTube channel. And when these two YouTubers that left China started just posting things that were not true. I'm like, hold on one second. I know that's not true. Hold on one second. That's not true. So slowly I started shifting towards telling truth about China. And the more you get sucked into that space, um, the more you know that the lying goes to levels that you cannot imagine. I mean, the lying goes all the way to governmental officials in the US. Like, for example, that the freaking Nicholas Burns, right? And the whole second show in the Philippines is like, oh, the the International Court of Justice said that this is sovereign territory of the Philippines. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I go start looking, and it's not the International Court of Justice; it's the International Court of Appeals, who has jurisdiction on UNCLOS and does not have the right to say this is sovereignty. And then you read the document, right? And it says this does not intend to settle sovereignty claims or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. But that thing that Nicholas Burns, the ambassador of America in China, is saying on a live stream, on a video, is not true. So that's why I don't even talk about those two YouTubers anymore, because the spectrum of people that you can go on and lie, not lie, and debunk their lies is so huge. These two schmucks don't matter. Don't matter. They're just talking to whatever. These people are here, are the ones fabricating the lies. Adrian Sens, Adrian freaking Sens, the German anthropologist who goes and says like, oh, and because I work in language, right? So he says like, oh, according to the documents that I received, the Uyghur language is forbidden in Xinjiang. Pay attention to that. First of all, no, the Uyghur language is not forbidden in Xinjiang, but pay attention to what he says. According to the documents that I got, this is not me. I'm not lying. It's the documents that I got. Mother, turn on a TV channel in Xinjiang. Turn on a radio station in Xinjiang. And you will know that the documents that you received are lying. Oh, Latino me, sorry. Do you know what I mean? This is what Jerry has helped me to cool down and to calm down my message. But again, the lies are really coming from a very, very high level. So I don't care about those guys. Don't care about those guys. My message is, who's creating the lies? And how can I prove that they're lying? China doesn't need me. This is just me. This is me looking myself in the mirror. Am I gonna let these guys get away with their lies? No. So that's my motivation. That's my motivation. That's what moves me. That's me. That's it. A sense of fairness that goes beyond logic. My wife hates the fact that I've spent so much money in all this gear. All right. Let's see two other comments. I remember China teacher. Oh, you do? Yeah, long time. Carl's an electrical engineer. He's lost his job as in IT. Carl, you're talking about Carl Za? He's a very smart guy also. We've done a couple of shows with him. I've done a couple of shows with him as well. He's a great guy, very busy. He collaborates a bit with RT and whatnot. He's working with the limitations of his internet provider and being in the jungle. Yes. Yeah, and budget as well. I remember just his microphone was, you could hear the roosters at the back. They're only in it for money, being paid for the 300 million for telling this. Yeah. Charles at Speak Softly at GT. He broadcasts in a metal pipe reverb. Oh. Nicholas Byrne lies all the time. He still insists that there's genocide in Xinjiang. It's just diversion from the genocide that they're actually supporting and financing in Gaza. It's that simple. Hashtag not like Gaza. Go to my Twitter and you'll see a lot of my videos. My avatar is a beautiful hummingbird. Yeah, an iris bird species native to Central. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I took my wife to Colombia a couple of times. She had, this is funny. She had never ridden a horse, and we went to called the Golden Triangle in the Golden Coffee Triangle in Colombia, which is nestled in between these three mountain systems. And we got on a horse for 6 hours. She came out of that and she had zero butt. She's like, "You're killing me here." But then you go up the mountain in the Cocora Valley in Colombia, beautiful, and it's a hummingbird paradise. Just hummingbirds all over the place, and they're flying in front of you. It's just beautiful. Hummingbirds are phenomenal. 32 Muslim leaders went to Xinjiang. This is just not genocide, guys. And what I fear about talking about Xinjiang is being boxed into Xinjiang, the topic of Xinjiang, and that's I don't know what to do or how to do, because they lie every day about Xinjiang. But if I'm here refuting every day Xinjiang, then they're dictating the narrative. They're commanding what I talk about. So talk about Xinjiang, talk about other things, and revisit the topic of Xinjiang. I don't have to do it again. I don't have to do it daily. Um, but they do it daily because it's their job. They do it daily because that's what they get paid to do, right? Okay. Where are you from before settling down with China wife in Dongguan? Dongguan. I'm from Colombia. I'm from Colombia. In 2001, I landed in Shanghai. 2 days later, I was shipped, so to speak, to Harbin in Heilongjiang in the middle of winter. And then I was there for about a week teaching at a kindergarten, which is not what I came here to do. I came to China with a contract to teach at a university. I was teaching at a university in Colombia, teaching languages at a university in Colombia, and I got a contract to teach at Xi'an Fanyu Daxue. But the guy said, like, "Okay, I'll meet you in Shanghai," and then we go to Xi'an. When I got to Shanghai, he said, like, "No, you go to Harbin to teach kindergarten." I'm like, "What do you mean kindergarten?" I brought my suits, I brought all my literature and whatnot. I'm like, I do linguistics. I don't do kindergarten. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's just that it's a Chinese New Year, so they're not open now. So why you ask me to come now? Anyway, old story, the wild east of teaching in China, right? So I ended up going to Harbin. I was then in Harbin for a week, and then I was sold to another kindergarten in Mudanjiang. I was in Mudanjiang for like 2-3 weeks. Then the kindergarten said, "Okay, our winter camp is over. You're free to go." And I'm like, "Okay, should I go to Xi'an right now?" I said, like, no, it's still on holiday. I'm like, "So where do we go?" "Oh, go go traveling in Beijing. It's fun." I'm like, "I have no money." Just sold everything in Colombia to come here and start my career in China, right? Um, and anyway, we ended up going to Beijing. It was a whole story. In the end, after like 10 days, we got on a train, went to Xi'an, and started working in Xi'an. Again, being the Wild East in Xi'an, I realized what teaching was about. I was one of the oldest professors at this university. Most of them were just high school graduates that were coming to China for a year, 18 years old, 19 years old, right? No real background in teaching, just a TEFL that they did online for 40 hours or whatever. I'm like, one of these things just doesn't belong here, and that was me. Like, like there were two other people. I need to be honest, two other people that actually had background in teaching, older people as well. But the other side was that the university said, like, "Okay, we'll give you your work permit and whatnot," because, like, look, I'm not going to work here illegally. Um, so yeah, but it takes time. 2 months come back, no work visa, no nothing. I'm like, I can't do this. So I found another job in Shenzhen. That's the first time that I came to Shenzhen. It was spring of 2002, and I found a job at a training center, which is okay. This is similar to what I do, teaching adults, right? Because I used to own a training center in Colombia, and I've been entrepreneurial all my life, and it was the same thing. They wouldn't give the people the work permits, so or work visas. I'm like, I'm not doing this. And then they coming to Dongguan, and I worked with what is called the Municipal Translation Service Center, and they say like, we got you, you're fine, you we give you everything you need. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So that's why I stayed here in Dongguan, because I was able to. It was solid. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have to worry about anything. So that's why I stayed here. And there was also another aspect that was interesting to Dongguan is that Dongguan needed a lot of English because it was the manufacturing capital of the world. So a lot of people came here to do business, but it was so small and so not developed at the time that few people wanted to stay here. So that created an opportunity for me to, okay, I can come here, teach, help my community, create a name for myself, and build something, right? So that's what I did. So by 2005, I had already saved enough money and learned enough about the ropes and what to do, how to do, that I set up my own company in 2005. 2008, I created my company in Hong Kong. 2011, I created my second company. 14, we second branch. 2014, the third one. 2015, we started like more like trying to build a franchise. So that was the fourth one. And 2020 was the fifth training center that I opened. And that's the one that caught me with my pants by the ankles. That's a very Colombian saying. You know? If you go to, if you get surprised and your pants are by the ankles, oh, you can't run. I had invested a lot of money into setting up this new training center that was going to open on after Chinese New Year 2020. So we were ready to start. We were ready to start after Chinese New Year, very excited, and like, and I had also just bought my Neo ES6 in 2020. So yeah, it caught me with my pants down. The outflow of cash had been quite a lot, and then COVID happened. I'm like, oh god damn it. Yeah, that was a very. That's where I lost all my hair. 2020, 2021, very stressful years, and that's my story. That's my story basically. 2011, 2006, I did a project with the city government. Basically, they wanted to participate in a United Nations project competition called the LiveCom competition. It's is a part of something called the IFPRA, or the International something something for Parks and Recreational Areas. So they organize this competition where cities or projects compete from around the world in showing their best practices in every aspect, from cultural heritage, vision for the future, environment protection, a whole bunch of things. There's five categories. So the city wanted to participate, and they needed to present the project in English. So they hired me, and we worked for almost a whole year, where I put my center. I just my teachers were doing that, and I was just going to this office to work and learn about how they run the city. Everything from garbage collection to water purification, to how do they choose the height of the buildings and the areas, the districting, the creating the zones and the green areas, and the so just all this information pouring into my brain in 2006, learning about, again, what I said, I don't know, an hour earlier, everything that it takes to run a city. Things that you never question, things that you never. Why do you see rats in New York, but you don't see rats? Well, you do see, but I mean, why do you? Why do rats run the subway of New York, but they don't run it here in Dongguan? Do you know what I'm saying? it's all about practices about how to run the city, what to do, how to manage the city, and learning that and how difficult it is and the sacrifices that the city makes. You'll know that price of land just keeps going up and 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 up, right? So selling land to develop projects is a gold mine. So when a city says, listen, 45% of the city area is destined to be greenland, no construction. You're like, what? You leaving so much money on the table? Yes, they are. So you learn these things and you're like, wow, that project in 2006 gave me a sense of belonging that changed me. I was here to make money. I was here to just do my business. But that, poof, like, it just became appreciation. Appreciation for what the city does and for what. And then you extrapolate that to the millions and millions of cities in China. And then you're like, this is a monumental task. When people tell you out there, oh, the NPC and all these things are just rubber stamp for, like, idiots, idiots. Every city has its own challenges. Every city has its own problems, and every city has its own solutions. So when they go to this NPC, to the People's Congress, what is actually taking place in those places is exchanging information. Oh, this is how we handle with drought, how we handle droughts. This is how we handle floods. This is how we handle this. It's just a conversation and all this cooperation between cities. Again, what I'm trying to say is that 2006 got me really interested in understanding how they run their country, how they run the city. So it went beyond that at that point. Um, the other thing that it did is that, again, as I was talking about helping Jerry, helping Daniel, you know what I mean? I'm a giver more than a take. So I started thinking, how can I help my city? And that's when I started a project of correcting the English language in the road signs. That was in 2007. And I put together a book. I just drove around, took pictures, and I started like analyzing what are some of the problems, what are some of the issues with these things. And I just put it together in a book and I gave it to the people that I work with in 2006. Like, hey guys, I think that this could help you because it's not just pointing out what the problems are, but what you could do to sort them out. Gave them the book, photo, hey, okay. 3 years go by, and Asian Games are coming to Guangzhou, 2010. And because Dongguan, there's a town called Shillong, has a champion of weightlifting, then Guangzhou decided that Dongguan, Shillong was going to be the venue for the weightlifting competition to honor Shillong champion, right? So everybody thought, oh, what can we do to improve the city? Oh, you can improve the road signs. And for whatever reason, a journalist from Dongguan, he knew about my book and said, so he posted something on the newspaper, a critique to the government. A journalist posted a critique to the government on the Dongguan Ribao, Dongguan newspaper. So like, this foreigner has shared with you this book, and for 3 years you haven't done anything. What's up with that? So the journalist like, now you say you're gonna do, but you've been sitting on this book for 3 years. You understand how you can actually critique and criticize China freely. So like, oh my god, what do we do? So basically, there was another meeting, and the book again kind of like came out, and then I was able to talk and express like, look, this is what's happening. It's quality control, da 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 da. Because very quickly, I mean, there are people in the Foreign Affairs Bureau who do the translation of road signs and whatever, right? And then that goes to a factory, but they send whatever, a Word document, yeah? And when the guy in the factory, whatever 20-year-old kid that doesn't understand any English, gets this file, he just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and he makes mistakes. And that's what ruins some of the vast majority of the signs are actually quality control. If there's somebody at the factory sitting there, so like, oh, before you print it, correct that. But at the factory level, so you got the foreign affairs people doing the translation, and then you got somebody with enough English knowledge. It doesn't have to be a foreigner at the factories, visiting factories. Just whatever there is a project. Okay, before it goes to print, it has to be okayed by this guy. So that was my recommendation, and because of that, the government of the city said you've done a lot of community very much. We would like to offer you honorary citizen of Dongguan. So I became an honorary citizen of Dongguan in 2011. Um, it's not about the green card. It's not about the permanent residence thing. It's just certain, like a distinction, like a big thank you, a big thank you. That was a very big thank you. And then again, that also put me at a certain level within the community, in which help my business as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about why I chose Dongguan and why Dongguan is my home. Okay, one last thing. Speaking the truth, when I was working in that office in 2006, they came out. They organized the government had organized a competition. Oh, we want a new slogan for the city, right? A new slogan. So they asked Chinese English teachers in the city uh, to submit their proposals for the city slogan, and the winner was a sentence: Dongguan's future is created by you. No, no, sorry. Dongguan's civilization is created by you. Nothing to do with my department or where I was working. We had not, but just somebody came to visit, right? The top leaders said, "Oh, why don't you ask Fernando what he thinks about the slogan?" They gave it to me, and I'm like, "How far along is this project?" Like, "Oh, it's going to print already, and like millions in bet." I'm like, "There's a problem here." I'm like, "What's the problem?" Like, look, you're talking about Dongguan civilization. China has 5,000 years of civilization. There's actually a museum in Dongguan, the Haogang Museum, where they found what you call them, ruins or whatever of that demonstrate that there were people, civilization living here 5,000 years ago. So you're saying that Dongguan civilization is created. You create something that doesn't exist. So by putting these two words together, you're basically denying the existence of the civilization of Dongguan that we know is 5,000 years old. So sorry, I just need to tell you my professional, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what should we do? So, so panic, like absolute panic. People on the phone, like, hey, because banners all over, stickers all over, like every bus stop, everything was gonna have this new slogan within days. So they pushed us to sit down and like, what can we say? I was like, I had no idea about this project. I had no idea about this, but I don't know what you trying. We're trying to include. We're trying to talk about the newcomers to Dongguan to feel like they belong. It's like the future of Dongguan belongs to you. Like the simplest, stupidest sentence I could have said, like to kind of like bring together the ideas that they were telling me, right? Like high pressure, like the future of Dongguan belongs to you. Boom, they went with that from that office in an hour meeting. Uh, and they said, okay, but we can't not do the Dongguan civilization is created by you. So we're gonna run with both. And I'm like, you guys do you. I'm just telling you what it reads when you say that the civilization is created. You create something that doesn't exist, right? Anyway, that was the story. So whenever I drive around and I see the future of Dongguan belongs to you, a slogan that's still well and alive today, uh, yeah, I feel like I've built part of the city. I feel like I've been an important part of the city. My office worked in the English translation of the road signs for what is called the Greenway, like a 3,000 kilometer bicycle path around Guangdong, the whole province, and then they allocated different offices in different cities, right? So Zhongshan had its office, and Guangzhou and Shenzhen. My office coordinated the Dongguan section. Um, so yeah, I feel like I am part of the city. I feel that my work has we built this city in a way. All right. Well, guys, I get carried away. Uh, Baituan Ren, hey man, thank you so much. Thanks for the chat. Okay, let's see what other questions. Donggun, yeah, Dongguan sounds for manufacturing. It's still a major manufacturing hub. Hey, sorry, guys, I just want you to know this is very much appreciated. Um, my YouTube channel, YouTube just doesn't like me at all. Um, so all the work that I do, it adds up to like $150 a month, if anything, because I don't get pushed. I don't get. Sometimes Jerry was telling me the other day that he watches my videos and YouTube doesn't put ads, even though I monetize. YouTube is funny like that. So thank you, thank you. I don't do it for the money, but this is very much appreciated. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. All right, so let's get back to what you were guys saying. The manufacturing, Dongguan was famous for manufacturing. Yes, the thing is that there was a shift, okay? There was a shift from manufacturing that was labor intensive, like making things. At one point, for example, 2000 and when I read the statistics, 2008, I think, one out of two pairs of shoes in the world were made in Dongguan. One out of two were made in Dongguan. 90% of every peripheral in a computer, any USB thing that you would stick to a computer, was made in Dongguan. Just to give you just a couple of figures, it was insane. And these were all cheap things and manual things and very labor intensive. All these things were dictated from Beijing. We're going to shift to knowledge intensive, high technology. So a lot of these things moved out of Dongguan into other provinces to bring employment to those areas. And here they started developing high tech. I'll give you a story. One of the things that I got a cat hair in my eye. Sorry, guys. One of the things that I really like about China is the vision. And this is something that is impossible in other countries, like in America or like in Colombia. It's just impossible. It's just impossible to have this because the longest you can run is 8 years in America, for example, right? But in China, you can be president and you can have projects for as long as those projects need to run. So this is why China is able to plan 50 years ahead, 30 years ahead, 20 years ahead, because they're all pushing in the same direction. They're not fighting to see who's in power and who gets some benefit. Is there corruption in China? Yes. What I'm saying is the setup is so different. You don't have to fight with each other and the divided population to get on top and then get that juicy, right? No, they're just what can we do to push forward? And that's what is so different. And that's what allows China to do what they do. Let me give you the example. When I first came to China, to Donggun, uh, they just opened a new freeway express from Dongcheng this to Shongshan Lake. 6 lanes going, 6 lanes coming back, 20-kilometer freeway. And I used to ride my motorcycle at the time. Right? Beautiful, no car. There was nothing there, absolutely nothing but lychee trees and farms and this beautifully superb freeway, 6 lanes for you to ride. It was awesome. And I used to ask, my friend, like, you guys are wasting money. Why? Oh, that's the future of Dongguan. I'm like, yeah. I'm coming with my Western, my Western mentality. Yeah, sure, whatever. Fast forward, that's where Huawei is. Huawei campus is enormous with Huawei's output and Huawei's research and the myriad of small suppliers to Huawei from this part and that part and that part and that part. All those are there so that the logistics are easier. That place right now fully inhabited in a span of 10 years. When I talk about, I'm talking about 2005. By 2015, Huawei was already there. Insane. So that vision, that idea, that ability to plan and to say this is what we want to do and this is what we're going to do is unique. Okay, I don't know if there are other places in the world that are like this, but is very special about China. It's very peculiar about China. They set up a direction and everybody works in that direction. And it doesn't make sense to us right now. It doesn't make sense to us at the point. But to them, they have it all figured. They're way up ahead. Like when people started talking about poverty alleviation and I started visiting poverty alleviation projects, I was like, wow, this is great. So I was like, this is old news. This is ready to show. So what's the future? The future is rural revitalization. I'm like, tell me more. Using the internet, and that's developing 5G all over the country so that they can develop cloud-based projects in the farmlands, in the mountains, so they showed me, like, here's an example. We were in Sichuan, in a place in a farm that's growing chili, right? And they said, like, these guys, their soil has sensors, and this data is sent to a cloud base 80 kilometers from here, where they can tell the conditions of the soil. So there's like, okay, obviously we were shooting a documentary at the time, but there's like, look, for example, the guy just calls and they say like, okay, lot 42, row 11, and he's there and there's a camera. He's pointing at the camera and it's like, this plant has an issue. Zoom into the plant, show it to me. And like, okay, that, and there's an expert 80 kilometers from there, right? Saying like, oh, there's a problem with this, there's a problem with that. Make sure that you do this, make sure that you do that. And this makes the chili better. That was rural rejuvenation, is a revitalization. Is a step ahead from poverty alleviation that was already being implemented 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Um, so yeah, what we hear is what's ready. What you don't know is what they're working on right now. So they know exactly where they're going, just like that. Song Shanghu Dadao knew exactly where he was going. It just seemed a waste to me. They knew exactly what they were doing. Having in the winter crazy, yeah. Dongguan city names are so similar. Dali, Dalian. Living in Dongguan is much less. Yes, it's much less expensive. Shenzhen is very expensive. So it goes like the people in Hong Kong, with this high speed rail and all these things. A lot of people just lived across the border, right? With that integration that I was talking about hours ago, that with that integration, some people live in Shenzhen and cross the border to go working in Hong Kong because it's a lot cheaper. Even with and the train takes 20 minutes. So imagine commuting in America. It takes you an hour to get to your office. Well, to these guys, they walk to the subway, get to the train, go to the train. They're in the office in half an hour, but they lived on this side of the border. Um, think about this new Shenzhen Zhong Link, this new bridge and whatnot. Crazy what is done. You can get from Shenzhen to Zhongshan in 30 minutes. People are now going to have dinners in Zhongshan because it's just so convenient. It used to take 2 hours or 3 hours. Um, so all these infrastructure just changes how people live, actually. Um, and yes, is a lot cheaper here. Have more subscribers than Jerry Sick on China now. Yeah. Okay. Jerry and I have a very, very healthy competition. He goes up in front, I go up in front. This video put me a little bit of further away from him. Okay. They had to clean up the shady side of Dongguan too. Yes. There was that. However, I'm a Colombian, and I always see problems from the both sides. We don't consume drugs, we produce drugs. You don't want drugs being produced? Stop consuming drugs. Who was consuming prostitution in Dongguan? Who? Those foreigners, right? Gotta look at things from both sides. Supply demand is a thing. Okay. I don't understand why Jerry Gray doesn't have 100,000 subscribers. You have way low that passed 100,000 December as soon as anywhere subs. Um, don't know. Don't know. Okay, don't take this the wrong way. But you can pay for subscribers. I'm not saying Kirk did that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I've been offered to buy subscribers. I've been offered. Do you want this many subscribers? I don't buy. So that's what I'm saying. Okay. Is bro that birthday Hong Gar Kung Fu? Yeah. There's two places, Foshan and Dongguan, that had quite a lot of influence. Oh yeah, Will. Yeah, you also a Neo fan, right? Yeah, that video is great. Trevor up at 4:30 in the morning, guys. YouTube is somewhat anti-China, gives China YouTubers a hard time. I don't know. Will. There's gotta be something. I've talked about this with Jerry. Again, we talk almost daily when he's free. He's very busy for a retirement. There's got to be a point where it becomes financially. It's not a good idea to start suppressing a channel. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you're paying me $100 a month, who cares? Just who cares about $100 a month? Don't let him grow. But if you're able to grow to a certain point where you're bringing in whatever $5,000, $10,000, maybe this is all speculation. I have no, but maybe you have to push through a certain level and then you're allowed to make them more money. Do you know what I mean? $100 is nothing. 10,000, 5,000 a month. Okay, we'll let you make the money, right? Still, they'll censor you here and there, right? The things that you can't say or cannot say. But we're playing in Western platforms. And they get to call the shots. I have no idea why Jerry doesn't have 100,000 subscribers. No idea. He's phenomenal. Right? Okay. Everything China does are economies of scale. Yeah, until it's almost unbelievable. Okay. Okay, all you get is a silver plate for getting over 100 subscribers, so you can achieve this quickly by buying subscribers. I'm celebrating. I'm celebrating this 40,000 subscribers. I'm stoked, right? Because it's such a fight. It's such a burning the midnight oil. In Colombia, we say elbow grease, just working. But the number of subscribers in the end only reflects. Somebody said it to Jerry the other day in one of his videos, because I watch all of Jerry's videos. He was saying like you could affect more people with your 30, 40,000 subscribers that some people with millions of subscribers. Because it's the content what matters. And then the task of sharing the truth that you're sharing is on your followers. Uh, it's beyond my scope. It's beyond my control. Do you know what I mean? How far my message goes is beyond my control. What I can control is sit down here every day with my computer, my equipment, my brain, and put together content for you guys. And then you guys take it somewhere where it could go. I have no control over that. I have no control over that. Um, and buying subscribers, it's like buying love. Uh, Jerry started a video not so long ago. Yes, Annie, he started about. I think I poked him a little bit with that podcast that we did. Um, and he's like, oh, maybe I could communicate better. What triggered him was his success on Twitter. He went so quick on Twitter. He got like 80 something thousand subscribers or followers on Twitter. So like maybe I could put what I'm saying here on video format, and that's what started his journey on YouTube like less than 2 years ago. I'm sure. Yep. Hey guys, it's getting late for a lot of you. Oh, let me see. There's a couple of starred things. Okay. So, yeah, once again, guys, thank you for your support. You are awesome. I really appreciate all of you. We've been on for 2 hours and 11 minutes. Thank you all for coming to this AMA. If you guys feel like this is something that you're interested in, make sure to let me know in the comment section, and maybe we can make it a weekly thing. For me, Wednesday works really well for weekly because I write a lot of my scripts on the weekend and start shooting and producing Monday, Tuesday. So this is a nice break in my day so that I can continue to produce for the rest of the week. But I'm on a daily schedule now, Monday to Friday. If Wednesday is a good day for a live stream, we should make it official. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Guys, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for following, subscribing. Thank you for sending that message of Panjang Le so far, so far. And good for him. Good for him and good for China and good for the message. Thank you so much, guys. That's it for today. I appreciate it. Good energy from China. And until I see you again, take it easy and bye for now. Bye, guys. Signing off. My pleasure, YT. Yeah, let's do it a Wednesday thing, speaking the truth. Bye.